Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about the auto-tagging tool SharePoint Add-in I have published on GitHub. So a few words about me. I'm a SharePoint Server MVP since 2008. My blog is silverit.com and you can follow me on Twitter at Stefan Hskins. So the auto-tagger, it handles docx and PDF files. So it will read the content of those files and try to find a match between taxonomies in SharePoint and the content of your files. It's leveraging SharePoint taxonomies, so I will demo that, but it's really reusing all the out-of-the-box SharePoint taxonomies capabilities for synonyms, translations, and that kind of things. And from that taxonomy, you will be able to configure the auto-tagger so that it knows how to match a term against some content. It leverages the Azure Platform as a Service. The idea is actually it's a SharePoint add-in with the remote web deployed in Azure. So I'll make a separate video where I'll explain how it's done exactly, technically speaking, and how to deploy it if you want to try it out. And it's available on GitHub, so it's publicly available here. So don't hesitate to go and download the code and then just watch my other video later to see how to deploy it. Okay, let's switch to a demo. I've got a document library here with a few taxonomy fields. So let's just have a look at one of those fields. If I just click on, for instance, tags, this taxonomy field is bound to this term set, and the other fields are bound to, let's say, terms within that term set. So the idea here is to show you that you can bind multiple fields to the same list and enable auto-tagging for each of these fields independently. And of course, then you can either bind them to a full term set or to a term within the term set. And in that case, the tagger will behave a little bit differently, which I'll explain during the demo. So here I've got then this library with no auto-tagging enabled. So if I just take a document, you will see that no tags will be created for that document. Okay, so I'm refreshing a few times. Okay, and it's normal because there is no tagging. So if I would like to tag them, then I would need to really edit the properties and then start choosing the tags I need or I want to, let's say, choose for that document. Okay, so I would go manually to do that. So here the idea is, of course, to have some helps from the auto-tagger. So I have already installed an app called, so this is the name of the app. This is the tagging app. So I've already opened it here. So what it does is it checks all the lists of the host web, so the web where you install the app, that have at least one taxonomy field. And it lists all of them here, and you can then start enabling or disabling tagging for all of these fields or just part of them. So if I just do that, for instance, for let's say degree, I will enable tagging. So it takes a while. So behind the scenes, it's attaching some remote event receivers to the list. So it's done. So if I just delete that file and I re-upload it again, it should now find some matches for the degree. Okay, so it takes a little bit of time. So also it's yeah, you see, so it's done. So it found actually a match, and it's normal because this document is actually one of my CVs, quite old one, but doesn't matter. And it found that I have a page load degree. So if now I enable tagging for languages and technical skills, it will of course find more things. So I will just delete it again. Well, I can just show you with the PDF one. So I can upload the PDF, which is just say a duplicate of the doc file, just with another extension or PDF format. So I will refresh a few times and then it should find some tags. So, okay, degree. And you see it also found some language skills and technical skills. So all of these terms are part of my resume. So if I open it, I can just show you. I've got some language skills here, I've got some technical skills, so it was JavaScript, so probably JavaScript is somewhere in my CV. So it's that kind of things, okay? So now I will remove it. So for now I just associated I've enabled, sorry, the tagging with an asynchronous behavior. So you see that I need to refresh to see if tagger is there or not. So I will actually disable tagging again, and I will switch from async mode to sync mode. So the reason why you can't switch while something is enabled is because there is only one event receiver per list. Okay, so if you decide to go for the synchronous mode, then all the fields that are bound to that list will be handled by the same event receiver. So that's why you need to disable everything first. Then you can switch. You just uncheck the async mode, and then you can enable again. So let's say I will enable degree only. So now if I come back, I will drag and drop the document, and it will wait until the tagging is complete. So that can be useful, not really in this scenario, you see it's there, but more in the scenario where you want to, let's say, choose the tags while you are uploading the file. So if I just upload the file manually, then it will wait until the tagging is complete, or at least until the auto tagger brings some tags, and then I can still choose to change them. Okay, so that's the advantage of being synchronous. Of course, disadvantage is that the upload itself takes a little bit more time, because of course it's really waiting for each document for the tagger to complete before giving back the hand. Okay, so now let's see how to configure the auto tagging. So all the fields I've showed you in the previous demo are bound to this term set here. So I told you there was a difference between binding a field to a full term set like here, tags, or to a term like degree. So if you bind it to a full term set, then the system will load all terms belonging to that term set. If you bind it to, for instance, degree, then the system will only bind the two sub-levels of degree. So for instance, here until bachelor test. If you go below, then those terms will not be loaded. And the reason why it behaves like that is because in the SharePoint API, in the CSOM API, you can easily load a full term set, so terms including all its terms. A term set including all the terms. But if you let's say target a term, then you will only be able to in one call to upload the two sub-levels with inclusion of let's say the terms collection of this term. The thing is, I could of course load everything, but then I would need to come back recursively to the taxonomy system of SharePoint, perform several queries, so it would be a little too heavy. So I avoided that by just loading the two sub-levels of, let's say, a term. So that's the difference here. But anyway, it's quite bad practice to have too many levels in the hierarchy, so I think it's already covering quite a lot. So if say you have a whole term set here. If you wanna, how do you tell the tagging how it should handle terms? It's via custom properties. You see, for instance, that here I don't have any custom property on that term. For my tagger, if you don't put any property, this term will just be ignored. So it will even not be loaded. If you want, for instance, a term to be considered by the tagger, then you need to associate a property called AutoTaggable. So when you set AutoTaggable to 1, then this term will be loaded by the auto-tagging system. If the term is self-sufficient, let's say, or meaningful enough, like bachelor, then you, in that configuration, the term set, or the tagger, sorry, will try to find a match for the bachelor keyword, let's say, into a document. If it finds it, then it will select it and tag it automatically. If you want to have more, let's say, control, or let's take the language example. So here we've got some languages. If I switch to language, you see that there is no property, so it means that this term will not be taken into account, but the subterms could. So for instance, if I take Dutch here, I decided in my taxonomy to be more granular in how I want to qualify Dutch. So I want to see the level of Dutch. So say I'm handling CVs, as it's the case with the demo I showed you. I will just, for instance, I've split it, let's say, the Dutch level over a few sub-levels. And I want to only tag those levels. So Dutch on its own, I don't want to tag it like that, because it could be, I don't know, I'm a minister, I'm a Dutch minister or something, and here say I've specialized my tagging system for CVs. So here I want to really see the level of knowledge for the Dutch language. So in this case, I've created two properties, auto-taggable still, this one is really mandatory, and then you've got tag-only synonyms. So in this case, why did I add another property? Because if I see the word basic in a CV, it doesn't mean that it will be basic Dutch. It's just basic, so it could be I've got a basic level of baseball. Okay, so maybe not in the CV, but anyway, you see what I mean. So the idea here is to instruct the tagger to say, okay, for this term, I don't want the term to be tagged as such. I just want you to consider the synonyms. So, and to consider synonyms, then you can just reuse SharePoint taxonomies and start describing synonyms. And here, for instance, if I have basic Dutch, dash basic, Dutch semicolon basic, then there is no more ambiguity. I am sure that if I find that in, let's say, in the document, I'm quite confident, especially if I know that I'm handling CVs, I'm quite confident that this is well qualifying the level of Dutch of the person. So this is really to avoid, let's say, noisy tagging. So you really have a way to control how the auto tagger should select terms that it wants to associate to your document. So, and I've got a third property. So of course I chose different languages just not to avoid confusion, but you can use those properties as you want. So here, this is the not the famous, but the unfortunately famous bug of SharePoint, always asking you if you want to leave the page, although you didn't change anything, but still. So here for English, let's say I take fluent, I have created another property. So still you've got the auto-taggable if you want the tagger to consider that term for auto-tagging, and then you've got this property called regex-based tagging. And the idea is here you can really specify a regular expression. So this term here will be picked up by the tagging system only if something in your document matches this regular expression. So if I look here, for instance, I will so you can just see that I say that I want to ignore case, that I am checking for English and let's say its corresponding translations in French and Dutch, that it can be followed optionally by these characters, any number of these characters, and then it should be fluent or advanced or very good. So again, in the context of a CV, for instance, you're quite sure that if you see fluent English or English semicolon fluent, you are quite convinced that this is indeed the level of English of the person. So here it really gives you all the granularity. So of course you need to generate the regular expression yourself, but the tagging will be as good as your regular expression is. So if you have, let's say, unexpected terms that are tagged, it means that your regular expression is not good enough. That's it. So the system at least will just apply it. So that's the advantage of this. And could be useful compared to synonyms. If, for instance, there are too many synonyms, then you might prefer to just enter one regular expression to match all of them. For the languages, so here, as you could see, I just handled the translations of the terms directly in the regular expression. But if you want to, let's say, use the SharePoint way, you can just go to the, I don't know if I did it here, to the, let's say, SharePoint engine and just switch and say, okay, I will enter the French translations for those, let's say, synonyms. My tagger will load all translations. So if it finds a translated word, it will just tag it and associate it to the document. So again, just something to remember. if a term, so as a recap, if a term is let's say self-sufficient, meaningful enough, like bachelor, in the context of CVs, for instance, then you just mark it as auto-taggable, and that's it. So when bachelor will be met, it will tag it automatically for you. If you want to have more granularity, then you might say, okay, Dutch is not precise enough, so I want to really say, I want to be more specific. Then you could use the tag on the synonyms property, and then just populate the synonyms, and so that you make sure that this term is only tagged when this is let's say in a part of the document. And then the last property is then the regex property, which is this one, and then here you just define your regular expression, and this is if the content of the document matches this regular expression, then the tag will be automatically selected for you. That's it. Okay, let's make a recap. So Tagger handles both docx and PDF files. You can get a performing auto tagging by using auto taggable, regex based tagging, and tag synonyms properties to be more accurate on how the system should tag systems. And remember, without any properties, no association will be done. And this is really done to avoid noise. And then, of course, it will never be as precise as human tagging. So, of course, it's still some kind of wizard, or it's assisting human work. But don't expect this kind of tool to really replace, let's say, the intelligence of a human work. That's almost impossible. So, but at least that can help, and thanks to those properties here, you can get something quite performant, not noisy, and it can only be noisy if you choose wrong synonyms or make wrong regular expressions. So you should really limit the noise you could get. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to watch my other video to see how it's done, maybe if you're interested, or at least how to deploy it if you really want to test it. Thank you.